Johann Sebastian Bach is widely considered one of the greatest composers of his time.
It's Johann Sebastian Bach.
He was born in Germany on March 21st, 1685.
Bach's father taught him to play the violin, and shortly after taught him to play the harpsichord.
After mastering the harpsichord, he was quickly taught the organ by his uncle. He grew up in a very religious home, so he would often play in the chapel. But by the age of 9, he had lost both his brother and sister and both of his parents.
His older brother took him in while he attended the gymnasium, a grammar school where he became proficient at Latin, Greek, and theology at 9 years of age.
Bach was 17 when he headed home to become an organist, but instead got a job as a violinist. In July 1703, Bach was invited to Arnstadt to audition for an organist position. At the end of his audition, he immediately got the job. On October 17, 1707, Bach married his cousin, Maria Barbara. They had 7 kids, but only 3 of them made it through infancy. Bach moved on to audition for another role in the Mullerhausen at St. Blasius Church, and after rocking out the place, he received the job. Bach was an expert in organ construction and persuaded his employers to renovate the organ the way that he wanted it. Not long after, a confrontation occurred between the Lutherans and the Pietists, where Bach worked, so he left to work for the Duke of Weimar. Again, Bach was displeased with the organ at his new job and asked for another renovation.
At this time, Bach was looked at as one of the greatest German organists. Pupils from all around came to study with him.
Bach was invited to Dresden to play against Louis March in a bit of a shootout. March was a French composer and considered to be one of the best in Europe. But the day of the performance, March ran scared and Bach delivered a beautiful solo performance. After being passed over for Kapellmeister by his current employer, Bach moved to Einhof-Cothen to assume the Kapellmeister position there.
Did you know his current employer was so pissed that he threw Bach in jail for a month?
It's Bach. It's Johann Sebastian Bach.
Prince Leopold was the one who hired Bach and admired him so much he took Bach on journeys with him as a consultant. Returning from one of these journeys in 1720, Bach made it home to find his wife had passed away. But in December of 1721, Bach married Anna Magdalena. Together they had 13 kids, although only 7 lived through infancy.
Not long after his marriage, the prince too got married, but to a new princess who hated music, and so that was the end of Bach's career there. He moved to Leipzig and became the cantor, the director of choir and music, and not long after became the court composer for the Dresden court. Did you know Bach generally signed his katanas SDG, meaning Sole Deo Gloria, or to the glory of God alone? He would also lend a hand to Cothen and Wiesenfels, being an honorary Kapellmeister there and all, although the council he worked for reprimanded him for pursuing these other cities and leaving his own duties behind. Bach thought he would have to find another job again when his old friend Gessner, the now headmaster of Thausikel, calmed all the hostility and got Bach better working conditions. Bach was considered a great musician, teacher, and composer, and in 1729 he became the director of the Collegium Musicum. Did you know Bach was a member of the Mitzler Society, a society devoted to the promotion of musical science? Now Bach in his old age lost his eyesight, and the Council of Leipzig began looking for his successor. Bach tried having specialists work on his eyes, but infection undermined his health. His last few months alive, he worked on his last choral fantasia with the help of his son, Before Thy Throne, O Lord, I Stand. July 28, 1750, Bach woke up and could see clearly. That same day, he died from a stroke and then a fever at 8:45 p.m. He was 66 and was buried at St. John's Cemetery.